I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. So you've already heard who the characters are, and I think that probably the most important thing I can tell you, and that I may forget sometimes to tell people, is that the central idea that drives this book for me is really the same one that drove my first novel, Hold It Till It Hurts, and I have this persistent question, which is how do people learn to care about others who are very much unlike themselves? And so in Welcome to Bracksville, we have 4 students who are quite different, Some of them are studious. One of them wants to be the next Lenny Bruce Lee, Kung Fu comedian. And if you ask him why, who was the last one, he says, exactly. See? But what has happened early in the school year is that they have come across the story of Ishi, and I'm certain that many of you may be familiar with that story. And they've decided that they're going to, over the course of this year, redress the injustices that Ishi suffered here in California. And they're also going to travel to the Deep South and pay a visit to a Civil War reenactment. And that's all I will say, is that they're going to pay a visit to the Civil War reenactment. And they're hoping that when they leave this reenactment, the reenactors will all be better, wiser, kinder people. I think I can stop there.
The first voice you hear is Daron.
The daring do, stealing base, christened Daron Little May Davenport, D.D. to Nana. Initial smothered in southern fried kisses, dat wigga-dee who like Jay-Z-I, who's down. Scots Irish it is. Daring because you're brave, says Dad. No, Daron because your daddy's daddy was David, and then there was mine who was named Aaron. Doo-doo after cousin Quint, who blew 36 months in Votech on a straight-arm bid, and they cruised out to Little Gorge, glugging green grenades and read 3 years' worth of birthday cards. Little Mays, when he hit those homers in the Pee Wee playoff, Dookie, according to his Aunt Boo. Spiteful she was, misery indeed loves company. Mr. Hanky, when they discover he TiVoed Battlestar Galactica. Faggot, when he hugged John Muir in the 3rd grade. Faggot again when he drew hearts on everyone's Valentine's Day cards in 4th grade. Dim ding dong when he undressed in the wrong dressing room because he daren't venture into the dark end of the gym. Philadelphia Freedom when he was caught clicking heels to that song. Tony thought he was clever with that one. Mr. Davenport when he won the school's debate contest in 8th grade. Faggot again when he won the school's debate contest in 8th grade. Faggot again, more times than he cared to remember. Faggot again when he cried at the end of Wall-E. Donut hole when he started to swell in 9th grade. Donut black hole when he started to swell in 10th grade. Tony thought he was real clever with that one. Buttercup when they caught him gardening. Hippie when he stopped hunting. Faggot again when he became a vegetarian and started wearing a meat is murder pin. Oh yeah? Why you craving mine then? Faggot again when he broke down in class over being called faggot. Sissy after that, whispered, smothered in sniggers, almost hidden. Ron by the high school debate team coach because he danced like a cross between Morrissey and some fat old black guy in some old ass show called What's Happening. Brainiac when he aced the PSATs for his region. Turd nerd when he paced the PSATs for his region. Turd nerd when he hung with JoJo and Black Bruiser. Daron, sweet, simple Darren, first few minutes of the first day of college. Are you pronouncing that correctly? Yes, ma'am. Daron it is. What about that apostrophe, that light-hearted comma? Oh no, ma'am, ignore that. It's all one word. Ma'am.
The second semester of freshman spring also brought a life-altering move to New York. His first semester's 6-man suite had been too rowdy, excepting Duran, of course. So the RA dispersed them across campus like parolees. Duran's new roommate wanted to be the next Lenny Bruce Lee, kung fu comedian. Asked who the first one was, he answered, "See? Chang, a.k.a. Louis Chang, a.k.a. Luce Chang, was none too pleased to have Duran Davenport aboard. After Louis's former roommate dropped out midway through the first semester, he'd grown accustomed to living single in a double. The room was barely 15 by 15, with a bed, desk, and chair on each side, and on the wall opposite the door, a window overlooking the courtyard. The day Duran arrived, clothes smothered both beds and books tottered on both chairs. Chemistry, botany, zoology on one side, George Carlin, Steve Martin, and Paul Mooney on the other. And atop each pile, several well-worn National Geographies. Had Res Life double-booked the room?
What side do you want?
He was slight, dark-skinned, narrow of eye, and like so many other California Asians, he spoke with no accent, a phenomenon to which Duran was still growing accustomed. At home, all the Chinese people, 7, had thick, nearly impenetrable accents, incomprehensible unless pronouncing dinner items. Numbers and directions were plain rudfuckers. Shrimp fly rice? Yes. $5.50. Huh?
Well,
The right side?
good. Get along.
They did. Not only because Louis was possibly the only Asian male who hadn't mastered the damn twirling trick, Pin Mawashi, and not only because they had, surprisingly, so many common interests: porn, the Pieper League, Arcade Fire, Tyler the Creator, Kanye, Kristine, but because Louis was hilarious and possessed of an enviable irreverence. Strolling along Telegraph Avenue, Chang responded to the gutter punk's outstretched palms.
No, it's Chang. Chang!
And once to a black bomb in People's Park, he shrugged.
You got Obama. What more do you want?
Then he gave him $1. Louis also didn't flinch when Duran slept with his head to the window the night before test, so he would wake up on the right side of the bed. Pointing at the little mirrors, which Duran hadn't before noticed, Louis admitted,
Mom's feng shui is great.
the 4 little Indians. Under black lights installed in the basement commons for the occasion, day-glow stickers radiated warmth from cheeks left and right, aft and fore, knees and elbows for the shy, and hearts for many, though more than one person complained vigorously that they meant breasts, not heart. 4 people wore dots in the middle of their foreheads, which oddly some found offensive. No one seemed to believe that either, unfortunately, and about an hour into the party, Duran found himself in the sunken courtyard with Louis and the 2 other dot heads, as he thought of them. A blonde female with beady eyes and a black guy with pig iron arms, obviously an athlete, like most of they selves in Cal.
1 little, 2 little, 3 little Indians.
Shit.
Fuck them if they can't take a joke. Make that 4. Or are you really Indian?
Yes, I am, naturally. Not the way he's like, but how would you feel if I wore Afro-wig and goatee and carry puppy people named Takasha?
You're funny, dude.
Hella funny, thank you. And you madam, how would you feel if when you come to my country, I wear, blonde wig like got a girl and speak, it was like, you're not liking very much that.
The blonde went crimson and pursed her lips, clutching her neck as though cut, slashed, hacked even, spewing tearful, spittled apologies through the air. Louis reached for her shoulder, which surprised Duran because it seemed an apologetic overture when Louis himself always insisted that the comic's job was to wake people up, with a full 5-finger slap when necessary. She jerked away, her ponytail splitting into night. It was too late. The tears were in full court press. She hadn't meant anything by the doubt, only that she wanted a good conversation, and she was from Iowa. And even if she had meant something by it,
no one in Iowa would have gotten so upset about it. What is it with Berkeley that you can't make any kind of joke, even accidentally?
Durand hadn't really noticed her until she began crying. Lewis would argue, the reptilian brain is like a Japanese tourist armed with a digital camera with infinite memory. Therefore, Durand had noticed her, but hadn't yet noticed that he had noticed her. Now he looked again. She was average height for a woman, her chin at her shoulder. An average build, at least for Durand, because her physique was not that of the desiccated, squirrely girls who foraged at the co-op, standing in the center of the aisle as still as Lady Justice with a container in each hand while deliberating the benefits of garbanzo miso versus soy miso. No, hers was a figure forged in the same furnace as the girls he'd grown up with full legs and arms and long, straight hair past the neck that at night glowed like butter on burnt toast. She sniffed and her cheeks twitched, tickled by a tear, and he felt compelled to protect her.
He's just joking. He's Malaysian, not Indian. You cut your tongue talking that way.
Really? Screw you.
What's the difference? Welcome to the club.
The difference is miles and miles. That's about all. How do I look?
The prayer, an old block party song, played in the background, the band's pre-recorded clapping in rhythm with a strobe light.
Is it wrong to want more than is given to you? No, it's not.
Excuse me?
You're sensitive.
Don't you mean a mite sensitive?
How's that?
How?
How, Tonto?
I resent that, especially coming from you. I'm part Native American.
Are we all?
Thus they became the four little Indians, Durand, Lewis, Charlie, and Candace. It mattered not that Lewis swapped statistics for film studies only to be near Candace, and she swapped theater for rhetoric only to be near Charlie. Durand was just glad to be close to her, and to have friends who were also uncertain about their place at Berkeley, and who were nerds. Not that anyone could be a nerd at Berkeley. Besides, he had heard that it was easier to get a girlfriend when you had a girlfriend, so being seen with Candace would only further his cause with Micaiah, whom that night was nowhere to be seen. When Durand muttered his frustration, Charlie confirmed his theory.
The most important lesson I learned in high school was that banks loan quickest to those who don't need the money.
The four little Indians hatched a plan. The class was American History X, Y, and Z, alternative perspectives. The course reader, people who was notable such as Freire and Marx, was bookended by Chomsky and Zen. The four little Indians had taken the class together to satisfy a core requirement and because they heard it was fun, or at least that's what they told each other. The professor wore a monocle and resembled Mark Twain, and better yet, video projects were accepted as capstones. On Fridays, the professor hosted Salon de Chat, an informal class with the tagline, "People who don't know their history are doomed to eat it." The desks were arranged as four tops covered with butcher paper, and a sandwich board was installed in the hallway. After being assigned to a table of 3 or 4 diners, each student received a menu of conversations.
Salon de Chat. Starter.
Civil disobedience. Entree. Tradition and social justice.
Dessert.
Uncivil disobedience
and
protest.
As usual, Durand and Charlie sat together, and Lewis sat elsewhere with Candace. How Lewis always managed to partner with Candace, Durand had not yet figured out. The prof lurched from table to table, ears out, eyes to the floor, finger to the ceiling, nodding, rarely talking, more a mascot than a teacher. Duran was still unaccustomed to this practice most common among humanities professors, of more than speaking, which was the exact opposite of high school. Laughter shot across the room from Lewis's table. His three partners were all doubled over, and Lewis wore his famous face of fatuity, eyes wide, mouth straight and slightly open, head back like he narrowly missed a slap, an expression that asked,
Did I say something?
At Duran's table, a junior from LA blathered about documentary filming as the next social protest movement. Documenting protests, that is. A performative intervention, she explained, drawing the words out like a foreign term. Read Mark Twain. She had hair blonder than Beyonce. Her dyed quite unlike he imagined her southern cousins. And he doubted that she could read anything through those sunglasses, maybe not even without. Another volley of laughter from Lewis's table. Candace was literally crying, her mascara fanning like Tammy Faye's. Why had she started wearing so much makeup? Last semester, she wore none to honor her native heritage. LA continued her litany of the merits of documentaries.
Vous n'êtes pas sérieux? What is performative intervention? That could be sex or shoplifting. Is sex or shoplifting going to change the world? Better yet, how about shoplifting sex?
That would be rape, and that is not fun. This is very serious. Failing to believe in that humor in that remark, I'm departing for another table.
LA stood then, but not before daintily counting out 3 index cards on the seat. These are my notes for the next 2 courses. That should cover my portion of the bill. She started off, shorts nibbling cheeks, perfectly painted legs tucked into huge furry boots, like she was wearing the feet of a baby woolly mammoth. Darren clambered to his feet, but Charlie extended his arms like a parent coming to a sudden stop.
She'll be back.
He believed Charlie. There was never a shortage of girls volunteering to be in Charlie's group, and he wasn't even on the football team. He just looked like him.
She was here until the shoplifting sex part. You can recover as long as you don't apologize or follow her now. Saying sorry would be giving up the advantage.
Duran considered this. If that was the case, he should draft an official apology. Forget La La Lucy, as they called her. He had forgotten about Kai, his freshman obsession. It was now Candace who inflamed him. The way she laughed, like she had a big appetite. Duran ignored the fun being had at Lewis's table. Lewis probably could have gotten away with a shoplifting sex comment. The professor chose a replacement from the 5 poets who volunteered, and soon they were again picking at their appetizer. But they would not have room for the dessert because of their entree. For their entree, someone mentioned reenactments. A few people were surprised to hear that a professor at Brown was holding reenactments of famous civil rights demonstrations. The immediate consensus, it was a joke. It had to be ironic.
They have a reenactment every year in my hometown.
That can't be serious. I fall off a murder table. Vous n'êtes pas sérieux?
Oh, they're real cereal.
A reenactment? Por qué? Por qué? Por qué?
It was her way of saying, why? That's not why. Have a seat. I'll tell you the real reason, whether you want to know or not. The table was shocked. The entire class, in fact. They'd heard tell of civil reenactments, but they were still occurring. The war between the states was another time and another country. And was this the South? Are barbers still surgeons? Is there still sharecropping? What about indoor plumbing? Like an old Looney Tunes sketch, Tex Avery tagged in soup. Charlie gawked at Lewis, who gawked at Candace, who generously suggested it as a capstone project to the professor, who Googled the event and announced that it coincided with spring break. Serendipity had spoken. Duran didn't say yes, but couldn't yet say no. Never mind that he had never actually ventured into Old Man Donner's grounds while the reenactment was being staged. Never mind that the notion of recording morphed into participation. But mind he did when Candace suggested a performative intervention, or, in Lewis's words, a staged lynching.
Lynching never happened in my town.
That would be even better. You can force states' rights to take a look in the mirror, and they will not like what they see. Will this be safe? There won't be any danger, will there?
What did they think Georgia was like? Of course not. There's no danger at all. It's safe. The reenactment's open for public viewing.
It was decided then, in the wink of a cat's eye, next month, spring break, would not see him in Tijuana or Los Cabos or Guadalajara enjoying tacos, tecate, and tequila with other Berkeley students, though perhaps there was still a chance of dissuading them. Their plan: 3 of them would dress as slaves, one wearing a harness under his clothes. One would act as the master, cracking a whip and issuing random absurd orders. They assumed that there would be enough rocks or branches nearby to form a pile for the slaves to carry back and forth. While this was happening, they would run a hidden camera and record the reenactors' reactions and ask them a few questions about the war, local history, and the reenactments. Then the slave wearing the hidden harness would get uppity, maybe make some untoward comment about the lady of the plantation, or try to run off, or just complain that there wasn't enough salt in the food. Then the party would get started. The slave would be hoisted from a low limb as if lynched. They debated whether or not to hang Charlie. Lewis argued that using the veil of ignorance as a guide meant lynching a white person, ideally a white female, pretty, blonde, because they were the most treasured people in the whole wide world, if not the entire known and unknown universe, in this life and the next, in this dimension. Charlie cut him off. Worried that might provoke gunfire, that most people were ignorant of the veil of ignorance, so ignorant of what? Candace had said, parroted Charlie, it is what it is. They should call a spade a spade. At that, the debate came to a halt. The day of the performative intervention, Duran awoke to Charlie's face only inches from his own, his friend's breath heavy on his chin. Charlie was hyperventilating, his eyes hovering in the dark like some kind of magic trick. Duran led him outside in silence, knowing, hoping that he would back out too. Duran had yet told his friends that his father expressly forbade him to go. In the backyard with the door safely shut, Charlie asked,
"Aren't you sure about this? I don't remember ever being this frightened before. I can't do it. I can't. I can't pretend.
Charlie,
Not this.
Charlie
I can't pretend
was
this."
sitting in the backyard at 5:30, the appointed hour, when they heard Candace being quiet in the kitchen, which was clean as a chemistry lab. The canisters, spices, and condiments all put away. Everything was out, was labeled. There was no way they could return it to that condition before they left, so he suggested Waffle House. Right up the road, he said. They packed it to the Bronco. Waffle House, a southern icon, black lettering on a yellow background, a beacon of gastronomical joy to the road-weary traveler. The chapel of carbohydrates where the high priest dispensed waffles to salve the soul, to satisfy every spiritual desire, even with chocolate chips. In high school, Duran often stopped here for midnight meals on his way home from parties as far as 50 miles away. It was 15 miles from home, twice the width of San Fran, a short jaunt to Duran. Lewis complained as they sat in a Goodfellow seat, as he called the corner booths.
That country round shit is true.
Everything's bigger in the country.
Charlie eyed the waitress and cook, leaning back as if at the base of a monument. He studied the menu, mouthing out the options as if he had only recently learned to read. After taking their order, the waitress stood at the end of the prep line and called out to the cook in a code only part of which they understood.
That's it?
That's it. He remembers it all just like that.
They watched as the cook laid out plates and bowls in a mnemonic arrangement. Charlie continued to read the menu until Candace snatched it from his hand.
Well?
It's one thing to talk about it. It's another to do it.
We agree.
Remember, make a difference. We'll have better luck in the real world where people actually listen, not an amusement.
It's different for me.
You think you're the only one? Okay, back to me in the tree and Louis issuing orders and you two asking questions.
Charlie cut his eyes at Duran and Candace banged the table, scowling as she realized that both Charlie and Duran were backing out. Louis placed his hands over Candace's clenched fist, so tiny.
I got this. Think about it a minute. Come on, you can't.
Andy, thought Duran. When did that start?
Think about it a second. We're asking a lot of him. Besides, if anyone sees Darren, they might think it's a joke anyways. So this is better. I'm surprised Charlie ever agreed to this. For all we know, we could show up and they could shoot him for sport, just for the hell of it. They could have a past life experience and try to hog tie him and sell him. They could think he's a runaway slave and try to collect a bounty. Or they might eat him. Or maybe they'll just pump his gas or grab his groceries.
Wait now, Lucy, you're out of hand and making it sound like...
Like something you two don't want to do, and for good reason, right?
I live here.
So that makes it okay? Look around. We're raising the diversity level by 1,000% everywhere we show up. You don't even know how to get to the black neighborhood, the gutter.
I do. It's just, you don't walk there. It's like you fly over the ocean because it's quicker than swimming. And it's the goalie like a goalie, which is not a gutter.
Me on your side, King. But that's not a pro. Maybe you should swing somewhere.
I only mean that as the crow flies isn't the quickest way. But I know how to get there. We can go there right now.
Nice try. This was your idea.
No, it wasn't. I mentioned it in class.
He's not backing out. His father asked him not to do it. He has to respect his family's wishes.
It wasn't my idea.
Charlie, please don't back out now. Remember what you said? Remember, you wanted in. You wanted to put this BS to rest, and you said we can't dig a grave without a spade. You said that. I was like, whoa, right on, that's my friend. We do need the right tools. Performance is a tool. Intervention is a tool.
Charlie hung his head at half-mast. The food came. Charlie, Duran, and Candace picked at theirs. Louis wolfed his down like a dog on death row.
Southerners. Louis and I will go. And Duran and Charlie can do some interviews, okay? But you must do the interviews while we're there. Go to that weird store or wherever and ask people on the street what the war was about. You can't ask them after. If you do it afterwards, it's too late. Will your daddy let you go downtown?
My family came over as farmers, and then they worked the mill. They never owned slaves. If my Uncle Roy said anything about crackers, he meant the sound of the whip cracking over cattle. No slaves.
Okay, Herr Vandenberg. And Ishi never lived at Six Flags Vallejo with Tweety Bird, but the Miwoks did, and they were massacred for gold.
Dee, can you at least drive downtown, or Charlie downtown? We have to complete some interviews while the event is going on, before the news of the performative intervention spreads.
That sounded fair enough to Duran. He wanted to contribute more, but Louis was right. If anyone saw him, they would think it was a joke, and their efforts would be wasted. He only wished he had thought of that sooner. Charlie hadn't spoken for some time and just sat there before his nearly full plate, his lips pulled into a sneer, tapping his incisor with his fingernail, which he often did during tests, and which Duran only now associated with nervousness.
I still can't believe this. We flew all the way out here. We had a plan.
But that morning, it wasn't working on Duran, who was thinking, if you hadn't been fucking around interviewing and taking photos, you wouldn't have tipped off my parents.
Can we pay now?
Durand left a larger tip than usual and covered his plate with his napkin to hide that he hadn't eaten the food. They drove back in silence. Charlie suggested they only do interviews, but no one responded. Durand said they didn't have to prove anything to anyone, to which Candace replied,
We sure don't. You're proving it to us.
I told you, just because we're from Georgia doesn't mean we own slaves. My family never had slaves.
Neither did mine.
Even if we did, Harvard had that lore and no one complains about him.
Just my family. In fact, I want them to bring that shit back. Maybe I'll convince some people of that today.
When they reached the south side of Old Man Donner's field, Charlie remained in the Bronco staring at the floorboards. Lewis got out, tossed his oversized duffel decorated with Fu Manchu mustache patches on his shoulders like a drunken friend, and started walking without a word up the hill. After a moment, Candace turned and followed him. Durand and Charlie would return to the Davenport's home and wait for full sun before driving downtown to do the interviews. It was early yet, and they had at least 2 hours before the detachment reached the nearest ridge, the point from which the troops would be able to see the tree planted by Bragg himself to commemorate his 1864 speech on freedom. The giant poplar under which Lewis and Candace would stand, dressed as slaves.